Hello and welcome to this free session on natural therapies for hormonal skin conditions. My name is Martin Stone from Switch On Health, and tonight is the second free session that we're running this week. We've got two more free sessions this week, so 4 in total, and we're running these as a part of ATMS Natural Medicine Week 2020. Now, this session is being recorded live, so you will be able to watch it on YouTube afterwards. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube and you'd like to support us in our mission to make natural health available for all, then please just click that subscribe button, because the more subscribers we have, the more we can offer, and we look forward to offering you more. Now, if you're watching this live tonight and you've got any questions for us as we're going through, please do just type them into the chat box and we'll be happy to answer them at the end. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've got any questions, then just pop them into the comments box below and we'll be sure to get back to you. Our presenter for tonight is medical herbalist and iridologist Deanne Apostolou. Deanne has got more than 20 years of experience as a practitioner, and she is also one of our course writers and our principal herbalist here at Switch On Health. In fact, if you are enrolled in herbal medicine or in naturopathy with Switch On Health, you will already know Deanne from some of your videos. She's got an amazing amount of knowledge. She's very passionate about natural therapies. So without further ado, over to you, Deanne.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you for joining us. It is really exciting that we've got so many people here. That's fabulous. So we're going to go through hormonal skin conditions and the natural therapies that we can do for hormonal skin. So we'll just to give you an idea about who am I. As Martin said, I'm a herbalist and iridologist. I've been involved in the education of natural medicine for quite a few years now, actually, about 7 years. So do the course writing for Switch On Health, which is fabulous. I really enjoy it. I'm very passionate about herbal medicine, and I'm very passionate about what can be achieved with natural medicine. The thing is, prior to studying herbal medicine, I was actually a beauty therapist. So I do feel like I'm sort of well qualified to speak about hormonal skin issues. And it's part of the reason, or most of the reason, why I went from beauty therapy to herbal medicine was because I used to see so many people with so many skin issues. We used to treat a lot of people with acne. And I used to start, like, there was so much you could do topically from the outside, but it was also, I would have discussions with people about what they could do from the inside as well. And so I guess my thirst for knowledge sort of came in from there. Okay, so just to briefly give you a bit of an idea about the skin and what it's about, I've found these some graphics to show you. So the first one on the left-hand side of your screen shows you a healthy skin, healthy hair follicle. So you've got the hair coming up here. This is the epidermis. You've got quite a few different layers of skin. This is just the top layer of skin that it's showing you here. These things coming off here are the sebaceous glands or the oil glands, and then you've got your blood supply to the areas. So a whitehead is one of these, I'm sure nearly everybody's had a whitehead at some point in their life. It's one of those really thinly covered little pimple. You can just scratch it off. It's not deep, it doesn't generally hurt, but it's just this little white. It's a pore that's filled with white, which is basically white blood cells. What a blackhead is when there's no top across the top of that the dirt and the debris that has caused the whitehead. There's no layer of skin on top and it's oxidized. So there's still dirt and debris in there. There's white blood cells in there, but it's oxidized as it's open to the air. Here down the bottom, you have papule and a pustule, which are basically 2 names for pimples. One's just a bigger and more painful pimple than the other one. But basically, it's your oil glands produce a lot of oil, and then as it comes up to the surface, it mixes with dirt and debris from the top. The skin can then close over it. Your body recognizes it as a foreign invader, so it throws out some white blood cells and creates the whitehead to try and get rid of that infection. The difference is basically as to how deep that infection is going to go and how much of a reaction your body is going to mount. So how many white blood cells it's going to force up there. This is just another really quick, brief close-up shot of what I was just talking about. Now, just to go through, I know some of these can look sort of quite maybe not so great, but we've got some whiteheads and pimples here. They're not too deep. You can sort of see that they look like they're on the surface. This next one over here, the comedones and the acne, and I'm not quite sure what those red lines are there, is where you've got quite deep, that you can see the skin's actually quite thick. And most people that have a real acne condition have a much thicker skin than the person on the left has a very fine, light skin. The person on the right has a much thicker, coarser skin. They've obviously had some issues because they've got some scarring. That's what all this sort of purple colouring is here. And it's pitted, it's deeper. And they've also got quite a lot of oil production going on because they've got some really thick comedones or blackheads. And here where I really don't know what that red line is there. I don't know if you can help me with that at all, Martin, if that's something that from me that I've done. Anyway, we'll just keep going. There's a lot of back and chest acne for people that suffer quite severe acne, and most males end up getting a lot of severe acne, and they get that on the back and the chest. Not to say that females don't, but it's generally worse for males on the back. And again, it's the same sort of thing as on the face. There's a lot of oil production going on, and then there's with the back and the chest, it can be a lot of rubbing from clothing or backpacks or something like that. The next slide there then, now I know this looks quite terrible and this actually looks quite painful. This is what we call cystic acne. Now, cystic acne is very painful and it comes really from quite deep down under. And it's something that generally needs a skin specialist. So yes, while a beauty therapist can do a lot, while herbal medicine and naturopathy can do a lot, you quite often might need to work together with a skin specialist for somebody that's got such severe acne as this, because this will get quite painful. And then, of course, it's going to cause all the rest of the stress because the person with this sort of skin isn't going to want to go out and socialise very much. So just a brief rundown here of pimple or pustule. They're basically the same thing. It's the oil that your body produces through your sebaceous glands mixed with dirt and debris from the top of the skin. The pore becomes infected to come up to destroy the bacteria, and there you've got a pimple. And then what the difference with acne is, his scientific name is acne vulgaris, is when you have several frequent breakouts of pimples all at once. So when it's covering a lot of areas of the skin, some people will have localized acne and it will be predominantly around the chin. Other people may have it on the forehead, or again, some others might just have it across the whole T-zone. So that's your forehead, your nose and your chin. Others may have some particular big breakouts of acne around on the cheeks. So it can be quite distressing, as I'm sure most of you sort of may have known. If you get quite a big breakout, it can be really distressing and you really don't want to be seen in public, really. So the best advice I can give, and I'm hoping you get this message, is don't touch. So yeah, just constantly don't touch your skin. The reason why is because our fingernails have a lot of bacteria underneath them. And what happens is that as soon as you start touching or fiddling the skin, you're going to make the skin get quite red. You're going to activate more oil production. If you're scrubbing the skin too much as well, you're going to be activating a lot of oils, and you're going to be making the body produce a lot of oil underneath. So then what's going to happen is that as soon as you touch the skin or you squeeze the pimple, what's going to happen is then you already got bacteria under the fingernails, you've popped a pimple, you've got more bacteria, you've just put more bacteria under the fingernails, and then you're squeezing a spot, and then you're going onto another spot on the face, and you're actually spreading that bacteria all around the face. So have if you've ever noticed that when you've squeezed a pimple, that the next day you'll get a new pimple pop up next to it, well, that's exactly what you've done. So don't touch. You let a properly qualified beauty therapist touch the skin. Some of them will maybe pop out the pimples that are really quite soft and ready to come. Others might just say, no, don't touch them at all. But there's a lot of really good treatments that can be done for skin. There's laser treatments for scarring, there's laser treatments for the bacteria. So see a properly qualified beauty therapist for regular skin treatments, as well as your, a natural therapist, because you do have to go from the inside as well as the outside. If you're only going to get at the problem from one angle, then you're not going to be able to get at the whole cause of the problem. And in saying that, that just sort of comes really down to the roots of naturopathy and herbalism, is we really get in and get to the cause of the problem. We're not just masking the symptoms, we're getting right down to the cause of the problem. So how and why do hormones affect our skin? Basically, we have, as I mentioned, sebaceous glands in the skin produce oil. Now, this oil production is stimulated by hormones at times of change, which is predominantly at puberty, where there's obviously all of a sudden this big rush of hormones coming around our body. For females, not only do we get puberty, but we get our regular monthly cycle. And then, of course, you can have issues at menopause with your skin as well. So, and pregnancy. So every time there's a really big hormonal change is when you get this big rush of hormones, and you can get skin problems with it. So what you find is that your hormones, our body produces androgens, so female hormones as well as male sex hormones, and that's for males and females. Both males and females produce testosterone and estrogen and progesterone. So we have all of it, and we need all of it. The difference is the ratio. So while men have a higher androgen on higher testosterone levels, women have higher estrogen and progesterone levels. And then, of course, with women, depending on the cycle, depends on the how much estrogen and progesterone is being produced at any time in that month, which then regulates your actual cycle. So we all need hormones. We all need male and female hormones. It just depends on the ratio, and it depends on the balance of the skin and how your body produces the hormones, but also how your body gets rid of the excess hormone. So hormones are also actually made in the liver, and I'll go through that just sort of as we go further. I think I do mention that as well, because we've got the pituitary, and that's what gets stimulated in puberty. So the pituitary gland is the boss, and that sits in the brain, right, close to the top of the head. And it's the pituitary that then sends the signals down to the rest of the hormones to tell them, to the rest of the endocrine glands, to tell them when to start producing what. And if all things are equal, everything will run smoothly and no one will have any problem with hormones. But unfortunately, that obviously doesn't always work. Okay, so both an excess or a deficiency of androgen production can affect the skin. So if you don't have enough testosterone, you can have issues with the skin and other hormonal issues in the body. Or if you've got too much, obviously, then that creates problems as well. So how and why do hormones affect our skin? There's many different reasons why hormones affect our skin. Genetics is a big thing. Acne can be hereditary, but the effects of it can be minimized. So while it's hereditary, and it's often, interestingly, hereditary through the father. So if the father's had bad skin and he has a son, it's often that the son will have bad skin as well. just because the fathers had bad skin doesn't necessarily mean that the daughters are going to have bad skin though. So that's a really interesting situation. But genetics definitely can affect skin, but the hormone balance can be addressed much easier, in much easier ways now than we used to be able to, because we understand it a whole lot more now. Stress definitely can affect your hormone production. So our stress levels are very closely linked to our hormone production. Cortisol is a hormone. It's a stress hormone that we need a fair amount of. That's what causes our fight or flight response. But if there's too much going on, and it's like your skin is your, say, your nurture point or your weak spot, as we call it, you can get quite a big breakout of the skin when you're under a lot of stress. And sometimes particular areas that break out can relate to particular things that are going on. So your forehead might break out if you're under stress. Whereas if there's hormonal issues, you might find that the chin and the jawline will break out. If there's issues with detoxifying, and say your kidney and liver aren't cleaning as well as they should, you might find that you'll get a lot of breakouts across the cheekbone area. So just going on food intake. Food intake can have a big impact on hormones, because if we've got a high sugar diet, if we've got a diet that's high in fatty foods or oily foods, it's going to really affect your skin and make your skin, it's going to upset the liver, it's going to upset the hormone balance, and then you'll find that your skin will start breaking out. For some people, dairy can be a really big trigger for a skin breakout. And what can happen is that for some reason, just cheeses and milk will cause a big problem, and it's like an intolerance, and it will make the skin break out across the cheekbones. And completing a food diary can be very beneficial to try and help work out which particular foods are causing a problem. Doesn't even have to be a formal food diary, but if you're seeing a health professional, we often work on food diaries and give you a hard copy that you can actually fill out and go, okay, well, today or 2 days ago, I had this major sugar craving. I ate lots of ice cream and lots of chocolate, and now I've got this big skin breakout over my cheeks or over my forehead or whatever it is. So putting it into a food diary and actually writing it down can help you to see if there are any links anywhere. The other thing that has a big impact on hormones and your skin is water intake. Now, our body is made up of 70% water, and we really need to be drinking about at least 1 to 2 litres of water a day. So make sure you don't overdo it. You don't really want to go over 3 litres of water, depending on your height and weight. But we do need at least 1 litre of water a day for an adult. So really looking at somebody that's over 50 kilos, it needs to be at least 1 litre of water, preferably a little bit more, 1.5 litres. And the taller you are and the more robust that you are, the more water that you need. Now, the water will also help to detoxify and cleanse the body. Because our body is 70% water, we also have a lot of lymph that flows around the body. We've got our lymphatic system. The lymphatic system flows, it's like it flows together on par with the blood flow, except the lymphatic system doesn't have an actual pump. So the circulatory system has the heart that keeps pumping everything, whereas the lymphatic system doesn't. But the lymphatic system is responsible for getting rid of toxins out of the body. So that's why you need to boost it with a lot of water, and exercise actually can really help to boost that. But I do go into that a bit later as well. And then, of course, some medications. Some medications can actually cause the skin to break out, depending on what it is that you've been given. So for hormonal skin conditions, it's very common for females over about 14 years of age that a GP will recommend the oral contraceptive pill. Good and bad in this, depending on how you feel. There's no judgment here, so if it works for you and that's what you want to do, that's fine. You just need to weigh up the both sides of the coin as to whether that's a good thing for you or not. While it balances the hormones, and it does work, because what the pill does is it balances the hormone production, so you don't get a real period, and therefore you're not getting the highs and lows of the estrogen and the progesterone, and it's sort of really downplaying the amount of testosterone that you're producing. It's not a natural way to do it, so you won't be able to balance your cycle naturally. And the other thing is that you may need the oral contraceptive pill as a form of contraception for a few years later in life. So the less time that you're actually on it, the better. But of course, that's a very personal thing, and that is something that you would discuss with a natural health practitioner. So what can I do for your own skin? Again, I'm going to reiterate, don't touch. And then, of course, there's topical applications that you can do. So I always recommend people to try the good quality, the organic skin products, something that is going to not have any chemicals or any synthetic products in it. Now, there's lots of things around at chemists even, and at department stores that are organic, which is fabulous. So if you can get hold of something like that, and again, speak to a skincare professional about it. If you work in a kitchen, which, okay, if we're dealing with adolescents, it can be quite common that someone around the age of, say, 14 to 18 is going to be working at a fast food outlet, which is great. I mean, wonderful to go and get a job and earn your own money. The biggest thing is don't touch your face while you're working. I mean, you shouldn't be anyway if you're touching food. And in this time, we shouldn't be touching our faces anyway. But the big thing is try really hard not to touch your face, because everything that you're touching in that kitchen is oily. And then make sure as soon as you get home, because your face has been exposed to all these oils in the air, as soon as you get home, you need to clean your skin. Now, in saying that, you don't want to rub really harshly and make your skin really angry and just sort of really rub it to the point that it's really red. You just want to use some good products that aren't going to be overdoing it, that's going to cleanse the pores without drying it out. Because the other side of that is if you dehydrate the top surface of the skin, and particularly with, say, general soap that you wash your hands with, that dehydrates the upper surface of the skin. Your body gets a sign that your skin is dry, so it starts producing more oil, which is not what we want. So again, talking to a skin professional is really important. The other things that you can do for your skin yourself is eat well. Eat as well as you possibly can. Eat clean, I call it. So lots of fresh fruit and vegetables. Having home-cooked meals is really important. Being careful that you're not having a lot of fried or fatty foods, even when you are cooking it yourself. Avoid refined sugars, avoid your dairy if you can, avoid your takeaways. You know, maybe once a week is okay, but even when you are doing that, try and make good choices and not having your really fatty, heavy sugar foods. Drink 1 to 2 litres of water a day. Exercise is really important. And outdoors, if you possibly can, if the weather permits, get some safe sun exposure. So that's really important. Safe sun exposure to the point that you want to make sure that you've got, say, an hour in the morning or an hour late afternoon, that you're not going to then get your face burnt. Swimming in seawater is really helpful. So all of these things can be very helpful for face, back or chest acne. I've got there with cotton clothing. Ask a professional for help. So your beauty therapist can help with your skin treatments, and your herbalist or your naturopath. Oh my goodness, there is so much we can do. And as I mentioned, it's a multi-targeted approach. That is essential, that you're actually going to work at all levels. So that means you're looking at your nutrition, you're looking at your topical things that you're putting onto your skin, as well as what you're putting into your body, as well as taking a herbal mix. So health conditions do not just suddenly start. There's always a series of events and a build-up. So what a herbalist and a naturopath does, we ask an awful lot of questions. I'm not sure, obviously, if any of you have seen a herbalist or a naturopath, but we ask loads and loads of questions. So what we are doing when we're asking all these questions is we're putting a story together. We're putting your story together. So we want to know all sorts of stuff. How long has it been going on for? Is it a genetic thing? What have you tried before? What do you eat? What do you drink? Do you sleep well? You're going to get so sick of the questions. But we need this information so we can make sure that we're giving you a detailed consultation. Then we put everything together, and then we make up a treatment protocol for you. So at the end of it, we generally dispense herbal medicine or supplements that help with the symptoms, but it's also going to get to the cause of the problem. Now, just a quick thing in there, I'm an iridologist, so I do iridology. What iridology is it's a study of the coloured part of the iris. But that's a whole other webinar in itself. And what we do is we have maps, and it's like the whole structure of the body is laid out over the iris. So different marks and colours that we see indicate different areas that we need to look after. Okay, so what we do with acne treatments as a herbalist, what I look to do immediately is to balance the hormones. There's a particular herb that's one of my favourites called chase tree that works through the pituitary gland. So as I mentioned, the pituitary gland sits, at the top of the head area in the middle of the brain, and that's the boss, and sends the signals out to all the rest of the endocrine glands to, okay, you start producing this and you start producing that because this is what's going on in the body. Now, what happens with acne often is that, as mentioned before, your male sex hormones and your female sex hormones are out of balance. So what we try to do with chase tree is to rebalance the hormone production. And chase tree can work quite effectively to help to do that. The thing that we need to remember with this sort of thing, and I know I keep saying it, but I'm going to say it again, see a professional. And I'm going to say it again later as well. When it comes to a skin specialist, see a qualified professional. When it comes to a herbalist or a naturopath, see a qualified professional, because there's so much that we can do, but the issue is that we need to balance it out. So just because they say go under chase tree now, it doesn't mean that you can be on it forever. Okay, so then we also look at herbs that are going to clear the toxins from the skin, and we want to promote skin healing, so that's going to minimize scarring as well. We can do herbs all together in this one bottle of liquid herbs to help with stress and the domino effect that this is going to have on us. There are supplements that I recommend because they can also help to balance the hormones and the moods, supplements that can increase skin healing as well. And then, like I said, you're going through a food diary as well. So what a herbalist will do is they're going to go right through that and work out what the issues are for you. So I've added this slide in here as well. Excuse me. It's natural, so it's safe, right? Wrong. This is not the case. And again, this is why you need to see a health professional. So I won't go right through all this because I'm conscious of time in case anyone's got any questions. But zinc, as an example, zinc is a fabulous mineral. Magnesium is a fabulous mineral. Water, like I said, water is fabulous, and we need water. Water is natural, but if you have too much, it can actually be fatal. So it's all about balancing things and being cautious of what you're doing. Zinc is fabulous, but you should only have a certain amount of zinc each day. Magnesium is fabulous, but if it's not the right type of magnesium, it could cause you a lot of diarrhea and a lot of cramping instead of helping with skin healing issues. And zinc, if you put your ratios out again with your zinc and your copper, you're going to cause all sorts of vomiting issues, headaches, all sorts of different things. So again, it's really important to see a qualified natural health practitioner. We monitor your condition, and generally most people work a little bit differently, but I see people about once every 6 weeks. And in that first 6 weeks, the treatment protocol is going to be different to what the treatment protocol is going to be in the second 6 weeks. We'll also help you to go through the food diary and work out what foods are causing a problem. We also recommend, if we're taking away foods from your diet, we're going to recommend what other highly nutritious foods that you can eat. So seeing a qualified healthcare practitioner, I think, is a really important thing to do. Martin, I'm conscious of time, but have we got many questions coming up? But
No, we don't
people want.
have many. We don't have any questions up yet, but we do have a backup session that we can all jump into when we run out of time after this one. Maybe if you want to
Okay.
keep going for about 5 more minutes, and then I'll just let everybody know the second meeting ID, and then we can all jump in there.
All right, great. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. If anyone's got any questions, you can throw a few out there now in the chat. Would be great. So yeah, just to go through here, something that's really important is more than likely, once you start treating acne, your skin's going to go through a healing crisis. And, you know, a really good practitioner will say to you, this is what to expect. So suddenly you're not going to go home and find that you've got all these herbs, you've changed all your diet, all of a sudden your skin's worse. It's like, hey, that's not what I went there for. But that's a good thing, because that means that we're actually getting somewhere, and I think that's really important. I've been working with a young lady, this is her here, 15-year-old hormonal breakouts, and her skin, we've only been working together for about a month, and I actually asked for an updated photograph today, but I didn't get one, unfortunately. So this was her skin at the beginning, and you can see all the tiny little sebaceous pimples sort of coming up here, that the skin's producing way too much oil. Now her area predominantly that's a big problem is the forehead. Now from the questions, loads of questions that I asked her, anxiety is a bit of an issue for her, and moods are a problem. So therefore it's not surprising that the worst part of her skin is up there. Now 2 weeks later, the skin calmed down a lot. You can see a bit of a difference. There's nowhere near as many, and it doesn't quite look as aggravated. But that could also have been, I won't claim that I sort of got her to that point, because that could also have been the quiet time in her cycle, but she's got less pimples on the forehead. Then this photo was at week 3, where it suddenly flared. And the skin, you can see how red it is across the forehead and how red it is across the cheeks. So not too much of an issue around what's known to be predominantly the hormonal area, but you've got the biggest issue around the detox and the anxiety areas. So the treatment protocol with this young lady was evening primrose oil, which again is fabulous. She's already taking magnesium and zinc. They help with healing and with the stress for the magnesium. Evening primrose oil is great for people with skin issues, but again, evening primrose oil is not something that you should be on high doses long term, because it can cause other problems and other issues. So again, this is why you need to make sure that you're seeing a qualified health professional. And we were working on clearing a lot of toxins, so increasing her exercise and increasing her water intake and improving the diet a bit. So just to show you there my contact details, but you can also get in touch with me through Switch On Health. The other thing that I want to say too is that if this has sparked your interest and you think, I'm really fascinated by herbal medicine or by naturopathy, consider looking at all the courses that we have on our website for Switch On Health, because there's some great courses available, and the learning structure, I think, is the way that Martin has set all that up is fabulous, really. So, okay, do we have any questions now, Martin? What do you want to do? Where do we want to go?
So our first question, Deanne, I hate to spring this one on you at the end, is can you put the slides up so it's on full screen instead of presenter? I think we've been looking at
Okay.
We've been looking at your notes and everything.
Yeah, so. You should have given me that before.
Yeah, I could. Somebody did tell me, but I didn't know what they meant, and so I got it wrong.
Okay. Yeah, apologies. Okay, so any other issues or questions there? There's a couple of things in chat.
Fantastic presentation, Deanne. Thank you so much. And look, I'm glad we're recording this, because I think we all want to go back over and take it all in again and probably hit that pause button a few times. But yeah, amazing how much you've managed to pack into this. Now we've got about just over 2 minutes before Zoom will just boot us all out. So Deanne and I would love to take questions from anybody if you would like. We do have another session set up immediately after this one. So as soon as this session suddenly ends without warning, if you look in the chat, I have put the meeting ID in for the next session. So we'll just have to log out, log back in again. So the meeting ID, if you want to write this down, is 727 0308 4367. It is in the chat for those of you that are more visual than audio. So if you've got a pen, I'll say it one more time, and it is in the chat. 727 0308 4367 is the one that we'll jump into in just a moment.
So yeah, there are some questions there I've noticed, Martin, and I'm quite happy to address those if I can really quickly.
We've got 60 seconds.
Someone's asked about PCOS. Yes, I've treated PCOS before, and obviously that's hormonal issues. But yeah, there's a lot of herbalists and naturopaths that do treat PCOS. It's a very complicated issue. Chase tree that I use, yes, I use it in tincture form. I'm a herbalist, so I use everything in tincture. And I mix together about 5 to 6 different herbs for a patient. Would I recommend oils versus moisturizers? Well, that really depends on how you feel and what you like to use. Sometimes you don't want anything that's going to be too oily on top of the skin because you don't want it to leave a residue. So even if you do use an oil, perhaps mixing it in with a little bit of water if your skin's already oily, and maybe just sort of dabbing it onto the skin and putting a little bit on can be beneficial. Pigmentation, Casey's asked about pigmentation. Now, pigmentation does have a lot to do with hormones as well. So yes, there are things that you can do. I'm not sure about chemical peels and things like that. You need to talk to somebody that knows about that. But pigmentation can be